It's called ELK Week. We're making a little YouTube video out of it.
Going to do some scenarios. So what we're going to do is throw in with this same audio that we're doing, kick butt audio, correct, Mark? Correct. Actually, everybody. So we got these guys. They flew down from what? Nowheresville, Idaho, something like that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, let's go with that.
It's a cool state. A cool state. Anyway, So we're going to interject a bunch of video in with the audio that we're talking about. But on their end of things, because we're doing a huge collab here, it's just going to be the audio, right? For 5 days. It's going to be a new segment every single day for 5 days, right?
You got it.
Yeah. So if you're new here, welcome to the channel. This is Born and Raised Outdoors. I'm Cody. This is Trent. Like I said, we got Mark and Steve from EXO. We're here to entertain, educate, and inspire you. It's all about big game, whether you archery, elk hunt, which is where this is mostly going. Deer hunt, anything out in the West, we pretty much do it here. So welcome to the channel. If you do us a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And we're here. New videos drop every Monday at 4 p.m. So that's pretty much just this. You guys ready to dive in, talk?
I say we talk giveaways right off the bat.
Oh, good call.
Wet the lips.
So
beak, I think they call that.
we got a giveaway for this video. Giving away an EXO Born and Raised 4800 edition. You can click the link in the description below, hit up and go to the EXO website, join then, and then we also have a bonus way to enter. So text EXO to 541-256-2457, get an additional entry into that giveaway. Along with that bro pack, we have the Born and Raised meat bags. So you got a five bag set, bone out bag, and 4 of the zip quarter bags for elk. So everything you need to do, take care of an elk, we got you covered. And then we're also going to throw down a Born and Raised gift card to the website. So we got a couple lucky winners. We're going to do a grand prize with a pack, meat bags, and a gift card. And then we'll also give another set of meat bags away and another winner with a gift card to the Born and Raised site. So
we'll throw in some gift cards on our end. So yep, go to the link in the description, hit the giveaways, and check out all the details.
All right, so there's the giveaways. Let's jump in and get you guys signed up. I mean, the cool thing about this format is EXO reached out to their audience and they got a bunch of questions on elk hunting, types of like, are we doing this right? You know, what does this look like and all that. So we're gonna dive into some of those, do a Q&A with the EXO listeners.
All right, guys. So yeah, Mark from the Hunt by Country podcast here, and we get a lot of questions through the show that have a lot of common themes. And so what we've taken is a bunch of listener questions that kind of correlate, and we've put them together in some different segments and themes that we're going to talk about today. This first one we want to dive into is essentially for guys who are newer to elk hunting, maybe getting after it for a few years. How do they know if they're doing it right? So you can go on an elk hunt, maybe have some encounters one year, struggle the next year, struggle to close the distance. And so the journey of learning and growing and becoming an elk hunter, when you're not filling tags in those first few years, it's easy to get down on yourself, kind of question what you're doing, question your tactics, or understand, am I even doing this right? And so that was a theme that came up over and over again. So if we kick this off with just that question, as you're growing as an elk hunter, Cody, let's start with you. In those first handful of years, as you're learning but not filling tags yet, how do you know if you're even on the right track?
I think that's probably like one of the harder questions to answer, honestly. Like if you look at the grand scheme of things, because sometimes I wonder, even ourselves, like, man, we're in a new area, it's different habitat, different terrain, all those things. And so we try to apply our, cat road shuffle method, and maybe it's a difficulty, of turning things up. And I think for New Mexico last year, partly questioned whether we're approaching this thing right. I think the biggest thing out of it, going into season, to have some goals. It's like, I want to hear a bugle, I want to, try to get a close encounter. Set those goals going into that, whether it's your first hunt or your fifth one, and then kind of take grade after the season of what went right, what went wrong. And I think the mindset going into a hunt is, I'm going to try, my goal is not to kill an elk. I mean, obviously, ultimate goal, right? But
my goal is to kill an elk.
Yeah. Okay. Second goal there is, I want to learn as much as I can, and documenting that process, I think, is probably one takeaway. Whether it's field notes when you're out there in the woods, journal things. We've definitely done that in the past, and you always think back of, reading through some of those notes of takeaways that you have those aha moments, maybe not in the hunt, but afterwards.
For guys who they are starting to get into elk, maybe they're finding it, right? And you talked about the checklist working down. Obviously, this is a big topic, but it comes up over and over again, specifically for archery guys, is just closing that distance, right? So maybe the scenario where a guy does hear the bugle far off, or he knows, okay, we spotted elk here, we're seeing some sign. Super broad question, but specifically for closing that distance, right? For guys where that's the struggle, what do you think are some of the big difference makers there, Trent?
That's a huge, broad question, because there's been so many times, and as bow hunters that have done it long enough that you can just talk to another bow hunter and say, yeah, I made it that 100 yards, and then he just sat there on the ridge and bugled. I couldn't advance because there was wide open terrain. Like, he wanted to see something. He didn't want to come any further, and that's what it was, right? So, but there's an encounter there, right? There's some things that we can learn from that. And Cody mentioned a little bit earlier, and I used to do this when I was first elk hunting. Every day I would go out, I would find elk, and then I would make a play or do something on them, and it would screw up or whatever. But then I'd go back and I would draw out the whole scenario of the hill. Okay, what was the thermals doing at that time? Okay, they probably winded me is what happened, or something of that nature. And so every single encounter you learn from, rather than going, well, screwed it up again, let's just go try to find some more. You try to actually analyze that whole scenario and just try to dial in on why. Why did they not come in? Why, and that's a whole, we hear that all the time, is he came 80 yards and he just stopped, and he wouldn't come any further. Well, elk, they have vision, they have smell, they have all these different senses. Obviously, he wanted to see something there, and he wouldn't come any further because he wasn't totally convinced that might not be an elk. So there's just these little things that can key him off, and like, you could speak for hours on this because there's so many different scenarios, right? But I think that the big takeaway from it is just learning from when it happens, just kind of taking it all in and just being like, okay, first off, what was the wind doing? Did they wind me? No, they didn't wind me. Did they see me? Okay, did they hear me? Was I making too much noise? Was I not making enough noise? Was I not raking a tree or something? What could have changed that scenario to make it actually play into my hand?
Yeah.
So there's just so many things and so much dynamic to that whole scenario, but at the same time, I think for everything we can at least speculate and learn from it.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, on the right track, and this goes for, I would say, the deer hunter or the whitetail hunter that's grown up that daylight to 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and then 5 p.m. to dark. Like, there's your window, and those are probably two of the smallest windows for us to actually kill the elk. Getting on them and locating them, great, but I think a lot of times on that right track is like, well, the bull just bugled and moved off, and then they don't pursue it, and it was 9 o'clock, it was getting warm, and they're back to camp, or they're done for the day. And that, I think, on the right track of an elk hunter is like, I'm going to stay on that bugle until I've exhausted everything and I cannot find him, can't figure out where he went, because that I would say that midday is a window of time that a lot of people give up, and the midday madness and getting them killed is more effective in that sense. So I think if you're on the right track, you're not going back to camp at 9 a.m. As far as if you're doing it right, consistent in elk, hearing elk, seeing elk, smelling elk, those if you're consistently on a day-to-day basis, and you'll have those elk move in cycles. So it's like, if you've been in them for 2 days and then all of a sudden you couldn't find them that day, it's not necessarily that they're gone. They're just in a different area that you could not hear them, they couldn't hear you scenario. Maybe the conditions change, it's windier that day, your sound or the calls don't travel as well. Like, those are an indicator, like, okay, we can stick out another day. Like, I feel confident. We've been in them for 2 days, and we've had it where all of a sudden it's like, dude, this is ghost town, what happened? And then the next day you find them again and you're in the Mecca, so don't just get discouraged with one day if you had consistently been in elk.
We call them wins, right?
Yeah.
Get your wins for the day. So in filming and stuff like that, we say, did you get a win today? Well, what that means is, did we get maybe elk on film? Did we get a good calling scenario? Did we get some really good stuff? So as a bow hunter, maybe get your wins. Like you can build on those every single day. So you'll know that, I got a win today. I got a bull to respond to me. That could be one big win for you, and then the next day, okay, well, he actually responded and he came closer or something like that. Just keep building on your success. And even though it's not shooting an elk is the win, maybe it's just, have them not wind you and get close to them. That's a big win for the day, and build on that stuff, every single time out.
Yeah, and when you don't know what to do, just keep hunting, right? Like,
well, that's prime example, and we got a video clip to kind of tie this in to show you guys. We had a scenario, it was Trent, Steve, and I, and we were hunting some newer country and doing the Cat Road Shuffle, and it's like everything can always it can always change in just a heartbeat kind of scenario, and it's like run the playbook, stick to the playbook, trust that it's going to work. And, in just a few moments, all that can change. And that's exactly what happened. We were doing the Cat Road Shuffle, saw rubs. We knew we were in an area that there's got to be some elk around here. And in that quick, got a bull to respond, and Steve shot it. So
it can happen so fast.
Enjoy this next little clip.
What do we got for tracks here? And I'm not talking about elk tracks, I'm talking about truck tracks. We have a raking barn. Or a decoy. One of the two. He's done, dude. Yes. I freaking choked that first shot so bad. I smoked in the second 30 yards fat. Good job. I can't believe I freaking choked. That second shot, I freaking drilled him.
I wanted to get up on that knoll, but I'm like, he's gonna see me easy.
I heard him stop. I'm like, there's no way he's gonna come back off sun. I saw his horn tips. I'm like, oh, okay.
That was crazy.
Let's see if I can choke again.
What is he?
A big old 5x5. Just a rag 5.
That's what we're talking about.
I'll take it.
That's awesome.
He's done dead right there. I heard him.
Yeah, he's done.
He's dead. That's quick. We walk up. There's a rub.
I don't think he
I
made
just
that
heard-
rub though.
We could just hear sticks breaking.
Yeah. And I was like this.
Where was he? Was he right here?
Yeah, he came up right there, like 25 yards. And I just, I'm just gonna right down the side of you. He was straight on.
Oh, he was face on. Did you
Second.
hit him broadside when you?
Oh, dead. Yeah, fat broadside stopped 30 yards.
He broke a rib. I heard that.
I heard a crack.
I
I'm
was,
like,
I was
really
back.
kinda missed him.
I was back kind of mid body, but I stayed away from the shoulders. He's dead.
Got one.
That was fairly quick. Let's walk down this road.
Well,
Kill
should
an
we go-
elk.
Go down there and take a peek. I heard him fall over, but
I
Yeah.
could hear him
And we.
wheezing. Good job, Steve.
got one.
Get that broadhead off so I don't get cut. I want to hug
Slave fest. Oh, I love it.
Oh God, I was pissed at myself. I cannot believe it.
Dude, when I seen you just throwing a fit, I'm like, something just happened because I heard something ting, 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 ting out through the tulies.
Yeah, I think my arrow's over there, way yonder somewhere.
But he just turned around, huh?
Oh, he turned around, came right back on the road. As soon as I heard him stop, and then when you called again, I heard the sticks breaking back this way. So that's why I snuck up a little bit.
He wasn't
Yeah,
that
so I was-
intelligent, was he?
No.
We're right in the middle of
And
the road.
there's the main line right there.
And there's the main road. The main line call in.
Got one.
Yep.
Yeah, we have. We've killed 1, 2, 3 bulls within.
We can't show.
Not very far.
Within a quarter mile in the last 3 years. We've killed a bull each year.
Yeah,
That is not bad.
that's not bad.
I know where they leave.
Yeah, he's got to be laying right.
He's got to be laying right. Is that another road down there?
There's blood right there.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy how you
Still haven't heard a bugle.
hunt. Still haven't heard a bugle, no. And then you just kind of go, there's an elk, and then you pull back your bow and, oh, wow, and punch your tag. It's, that's what hunting's all about. The highs and the lows. We haven't had any real lows. We just have not seen a whole lot of elk yet, so. But, like Cody said, I still haven't heard a bugle yet. It's going to happen this weekend. It's got to. And it was all because of Rosie. This is our raking horn. Or as Cody used it the other day, as a decoy. With his brown pack.
Just 8 a.m. Saturday morning. Walking the main line. Bugling. There's a fresh rub. Snap, crack, pop. Poke, crack. Poke, whack.
Bull down!
Alright, got back to the truck, driving around to go get Steve's bull. 8:30 Saturday morning. Awesome. Shot the bull at 8 o'clock, and yeah, got one. Bull down. So pumped. Steve made an awesome shot and heard the bull crash and cough, and just like that, he's tagged out. Hey Trent, why don't you have a pack on?
Because I think there's a dead bull somewhere right down here about 50 yards.
Oh, look at that spray.
You go ahead and follow him. Jeez, Steve.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Looks like he went running right through there.
It does over that.
Right through here.
If that's where he ran when I missed it. Oh, there he is. He did not go very far.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, look at all that blood.
I would have thought, that wasn't. He didn't make it 30 yards. 35 yards.
Hey. He's a little bit. I don't think he made that rub though. Look at that.
Dude, that's a nice bull.
That is a nice bull. I thought he had some. I just didn't think he had long time.
Keep telling you guys these things.
Look at that. Dang, just.
He was staggering at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, he is a nice little bull, isn't he?
But he ain't very big bodied.
What the hell?
He died in a crap hole. Gosh.
Nice bull. I'll take him. That's not a bad little bull.
No.
Steve, Jesus.
Got one. Yeah, the old school pictures.
Yeah.
What do you think, Steve-O?
Steve.
Awesome. Done. That was fast. Crazy, actually. I can't believe he came back in.
Now we got the long pack.
Yeah, it's going to be an all day.
It's gonna be an all day.
There's the truck.
All right, so this next topic we want to get into is how to hunt elk effectively with a partner or in a group. And we'll cover both scenarios. One thing I think is unique that you guys get to do a lot of is hunt in a large group. And so we'll talk about if you're just hunting with a buddy and partner setups, caller shooter setups. But I want to start with when you do have a group. There's specifically a listener of the podcast who wrote in and said him and his buddy have hunted together the last few years. And this year there's 5 of them going together. And so they're kind of weighing, do we all hunt together as 5 guys with a couple shooters? Do we break off into a couple groups and cover different country? And obviously this is an opportunity that you guys have done a lot of, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've personally done it with you.
Absolutely.
And so talk about that first. What are the advantages? When do you split into multiple groups if you have a handful of guys, or when do y'all stay together?
First off, you make sure no one else draws the tag, so they pretty much have to be there for you the whole time.
Yeah, right.
It works.
5 guys and 1 shooter.
Cody does that all the time. Cody does that all the time. No, yeah, that 5 guys kind of thing is such that it's that, yeah, we could split up, but man, it's probably more effective. But let's just kind of go back to like just a group, right? How we've been successful, how we've done everything is just being selfless. Honestly, that's created all of our success. Being totally honest, that's what if you're allowed, if you're willing to just take your time and say, I'll call for you all day today, and then you call for me tomorrow or whatnot. It's not like, oh man, I gotta shoot, I gotta be shooter and everything. If you can give up your time for someone else, and especially in a team scenario, like from that 3 to 5. If we have 5 guys, we're probably gonna all hunt together, probably, depending on the time that we have in the place and depending on. It's so much more effective for us. So, and it's real rough to film with 2 guys and call and everything. That whole caller, having your caller back, and we'll probably get into more scenario stuff in a little bit. But with numerous people, it's actually way better, honestly. And reason being is elk, they run in herds, right? And elk are not quiet. You guys have all heard elk. They're loud. They don't tiptoe around usually. And so being your own quote unquote herd and having guys that can make all these sounds that elk make, it's going to fool that elk even more. It's going to do a lot of things for you. And then you can also run like, say you do have 5 guys with multiple tags, you can run like a 2-shooter setup. So there's so many times that an elk will come in and you go, he was 25 yards, but he was right behind that tree. Well, this guy standing off 10 yards off could get a shot at him, or vice versa, or however that works. So it's that whole teamwork, right? It's the whole, first I would establish with the team, the biggest thing in the whole equation of things, I would say, is just establish who is shooters. Is it, Steve Speck in the back calling that's just going to wing an arrow over your head, possibly? It's happened. No, I mean, it's just, establish, okay, these are the shooters. And then when you do put them out there up front and say, okay, this is the lane that I'm shooting on. What are you shooting on? Because elk are always different. Sometimes they'll come on a string. Sometimes they'll come and try to circle you so you can actually, you're going to need different angles and stuff. And so I would establish that right off the bat, like, okay, this is where I'm shooting, this is my shooting lane, how far back are you going to go, and the caller scenario. And to dip into that, I mean, that's a whole different topic, but we have a couple variants on that. We rely on terrain big time. So topography is huge. If there's a hill, elk sometimes want to go to ridge top, so we'll get close enough to the ridge top to where we can get a shot at him when he comes and checks us out. There's a bunch of different things that kind of go into that, but like Roosevelt country where we're at right now, a lot of times we are from me to Steve when we're calling from the shooter, just because it's so thick that if they come around you if you were to drop back 70 yards or so and that elk was to come around, Steve would never have a shot at it because he'd never even see it, you know. So there's a ton of different ways to go about it, but I would just say establish who's going to be shooter and establish who's going to be caller, roles.
Yeah, not like ground rules per se, but like an
we had them written out.
Oh yeah, no. For us, it's always been a little different because there's a guy filming, you know. So that was like, and then, you know, I would say a team of 3 is like the magic number. If I say like a magic number, and that is a caller, 2 shooters. That's a really good number. When you get into 4 and 5, for us, like filming, it all makes sense. But when if I just had a group of 5 buddies, I would say, like in that guy's case of 5, okay, let's divide and conquer, split in a 3 and a 2 deal and alternate, try to meet back at the end of the day, compare notes, like what the elk are doing. You know, rolling 5 deep in one group for them might be ineffective and not as efficient because you're all in one area, you know. So I would say that, you know, the two-man teams or 3-man team is a really good sweet spot. Go, you know, make sure you're in an area that you can split up, and it's not like you're fighting to kind of all like hunt the good stuff, and you know, everyone wants to like get attracted into, I'm going to go into this basin, and then you're kind of fighting against each other. So I would say effectively make a plan, you know, and granted that you're going to sway based on what you find for the day, but like, hey, we're going to go up and hunt this. We're going to side hill this whole band of mountains. Okay, cool. You guys are going to be across the canyon couple miles away. We're going to hunt this, and we'll meet up tonight down here at this lake or whatever it is. Kind of have that plan in place and stick to that game plan. And, you know, we've definitely, you know, and in case in point, like the first time we went to Colorado, it was like there was bugles everywhere. Okay, we're going and hunting this way. Trent and I went, you know, Steve and Ty went that way. Trent and I went that way. And we never even hunted the same elk, and we were both into elk the whole day. I mean, it was crazy. It was absolutely insane.
One final question then.
Yeah.
For this scenario, like we roll in 5, 6 deep, or these guys who we led this segment off with, maybe 5 deep. It gets talked about a lot about collar shooter setups, but when there are multiple shooters, and you touched on this, setting up apart and things like that, but would you encourage guys to do anything very strategically with multiple shooters in terms of how far away they are from each other, you know, certain setups, one guy working the wind, working an arc, things like that? Just any quick tips on multiple shooter setups?
So we usually have a hierarchy, right? So we usually have shooter 1. We're going to put him in probably the best spot that we think is going to be the best spot. And not all the time is the best spot, is what we think is going to be the best spot. And then we have shooter 2, who's going to probably cherry pick off of if the bull, you know, circles for wind or something like that. So we'll try to cover the front door and the back door at the same time. So we've kind of had that hierarchy, I would say, a little bit of, okay, not just free for all, both you guys just go and set up whoever gets to the good spot fastest, you know, kind of have that already established, I think, and it comes into communication again, I think. That kind of, does that answer a little bit?
Yeah, generally he's going to be 50 to 70 yards.
Yeah.
Downwind, probably right.
Yeah. It's like, okay, if we do our job on the calling side of it, that guy's gonna get the shot. Like, and then if the bull does the, you know, maybe he'd been in a fight, maybe he's been messed with, like he's gonna do the slip around, and that shooter is not gonna get the shot. Okay, where is he gonna go? Okay, based on the terrain, he may come to this finger ridge, but then at 100 yards, he's gonna skirt that finger ridge. So that shooter number 2, the wind's blowing on that side, you know, blowing up the hill but angle back, he's going to slide up the hill, and where he can kill that bull if he comes on that ridge top, and he's going to be 40 yards versus from the shooter he's going to be 80 or, you know, whatever, 100, you know. So you're not doubling down on like covering, you know, think of it as a pie chart, you know, crossing scenario. Mm-hmm. It's like there is some crossing per se, but we're going to keep that pretty minimal. We're going to let that guy be in the cream, and then this guy over here on the side trying to, you know, pick up that auxiliary stuff. And it definitely has happened where the auxiliary has been the killer.
Not a lot, but it does.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Yeah. And essentially, that's what happened.
That's what
with the
happened.
Summit. Like
Right.
Mark was in the spot,
Yeah.
and that bull came through and out before
Yeah.
he could get it killed, and Tyler killed that bull.
Had
So,
my back.
he had your back.
Yeah, to have your back.
Yeah,
That was a fun hunt.
that was
a
pretty
fun
crazy.
hunt,
Yeah. So here we go. The Land the Free 2.0 action, Idaho.
Gonna come right through that opening. Shot.
you hit him.
Good job, brother.
Holy.
You hit him too. Who's Hogg?
You hit him, didn't you?
I hit Hogg. That's a good one, yeah. Sounds right on the Hogg. Is that coming down? That's not. That track isn't.
What? Pull down. Woo! Yeah. I knew I smelled him.
That's an Elkosaurus.
Smoked. Pull down.
Thank you guys. Thank all of you. This is our bowl.
Congrats, man. No way, dude. It's all you. Congrats. What a beautiful bull. Great job, Tyler.
He didn't even go 50 yards.
No, he didn't.
Come here, you go.
Good call, brother.
That's a great bull.
Did you know he's up here?
Morning, this close. Yesterday, 2 days ago, this close. It's just like, it only takes one, guys. It only takes one animal that finally everything comes together. And when it does, it just all kind of falls into place. But I just keep on saying this, it only takes one. That's all it takes. And Tyler now has a ton of meat for the family. So it was a roller coaster like they all are.
All right, guys, so this next category we're going to talk about is essentially dealing with hunting pressure and still filling your tag. So that obviously manifests itself in different ways as you're in the elk woods and dealing with other hunters, in the area, maybe elk that have been called to, different scenarios like that. One of the specific listener questions, just to kick this off, that came in was, any advice that you guys have for distinguishing between hearing bugles and knowing if it's a real elk or if it may be other hunters if you're hunting in an area where other hunters are present, right? So any tips for that? Like, how do you hear a bugle and go, that's maybe a hunter versus no, that's an elk?
I would say number one on that is like, where did that bugle come from? If you're hunting country that's either on a lot of trails or roads, like, number one is going to be like, did it sound, based on sound, but where exactly did that bugle come from? And it's like, okay, I know that there's a bench down there, there's no trails, like, if I just heard a little bit of that bugle and I couldn't distinct on tone where it was at, okay, good chance that that's a bull. That would be number one. If it's like, all right, there's a road up there or there's a trail right there in the bottom, the doubt's already planted, like whether that's going to be especially if you didn't get along, and it's just like you're hiking along and you're like, oh, was that a bugle? Like, okay, where did that come from? And that's a tough thing too, is just dictating or narrowing down where it is. I think that's probably the hardest thing with hearing elk, where did it come from? But I would say number one, that's going to be the factor of deciding whether that's a human or whether that's an elk. Mm-hmm. Where did it come from?
Yeah. What do you hear, Trent, that makes you think? Like, so we take location out of the equation, just based on sound alone?
Based on just sound alone, it'll be the guttural sound. So the normal bugle is going to be do-do-do-do-doodle-doo, but an elk, it'll be
good, by the way.
I appreciate that, yeah. I'm hoping there's no elk around. But it'll be that guttural, that kind of a growlish, kind of a... And what I would recommend is just go online and type in elk bugles and just listen to a bunch of different bugles, and obviously try to mimic those bugles as well when you're trying to practice or whatnot. But it's that guttural sound, like a lot of times, and if there is a chuckle, there is not a lot of guys that can really, really dial a chuckle really, really well. There's a lot of, bloop, 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 or whatever a lot of people do. And when you hear a real elk at closer range chuckle, it almost beats on your soul, if that makes any sense.
It's getting deep.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just like you can tell that his diaphragm is just clang, clang, and so anyway, and just dial in on those things. But a lot of times it's that just kind of a guttural, kind of a squealish growl at the same time.
And I would say the other side of it's length and cadence. Humans tend to bugle longer than what a bull naturally bugles. Like the bugle part is gonna be longer. They're gonna try to hit more tone ranges than what an elk necessarily does doing it. And then the cadence of from bugle to chuckle, or the chuckle itself, like what that sounds like. And we nicknamed them Doug Fluties, and it's that where bulls like, I mean those two distinct things, length and cadence, is going to be a big giveaway on the sound itself. So
you guys so much to it. It's awesome though. Because I think you guys have such an ear for it, right? Like you've heard so many.
But we've also been
bulls,
duped
you've
before
seen some
too.
Hunters,
Yeah. It's not very often, but we have been.
I don't have a great ear for it, but probably my method is how's the animal moving and reacting to your sounds.
Yeah.
Right? Like a human's gonna do a very predictable, split the distance in half and meow meow meow, or split the distance in half and bugle right at you, and it's like,
or every time you bugle, they're just gonna bugle. Human's gonna be like, oh, that's an elk. I'm gonna, good call.
That's how I do it, because I have been. When I was first year bowhunting, I was 18. My buddy and I were hunting this meadow, and same story with Doug Flutie. This bull just, and it was that's a hunter. And we just turn, walk around, and then I think we stopped 100 yards later, and there's a bull standing right where we were at. This is a little raghorn, but I've been super happy to shoot him.
Legal.
And we're just ever since then, I'm just I'm just gonna treat everyone as it's
drop
a real
4,000
bull.
feet for it.
Yeah. And then use how they're moving, and then also it's like you said, location. All right, I'm backpacked in here 5 miles. There's probably not another hunter here, or just what's the hunting pressure like? Dictate how serious I take it.
Yeah.
You talk about pulling up and see a bunch of rigs at the trailhead and staying confident, but when are there scenarios, whether it's you arrive at a spot you wanted to hunt, or you're already in the backcountry, where you just pull the plug? Too much pressure is too much pressure.
We've done that. We've had places it was in Colorado. We went, and Cody mentioned earlier. I mean, it was awesome. We were chasing different bugles in 2 different groups, and I mean, just having the day of your life. And then so we're just next year we know where to go. We get all the way back in there, and we're doing loops and circles and gizmos, and we're not hearing squat. I mean, it's just and it's almost we've talked about in the past, we like to go to new locations every single year. We do not like to go to the same old location that we went to last year. One reason is because of that. You get these preconceived notions that, well, we hiked into this bench, the elk were just thick on this thing, and then it goes back to your confidence level, like we talked about, as far as you get back in there the next year, you don't find elk. You don't find nothing. It's a ghost town. And it just starts niching away at your confidence level. And pretty soon you're not going to want to go to that next ridge, because you're like, well, we didn't see them here. Didn't see them here. Why would they be over there? And when you go into a new area, you have no preconceived notions. You're just totally fresh, totally new, and you're just I want to go check out that ridge. And so it pushes you way harder and way further, that you're going to actually hunt way harder in a new spot. I feel anyway, in a new spot, to where it's just okay, I want to see what's over the next ridge or in the next draw, or if no one's touched this should be awesome, guys. And so we will actually hunt more, I would say, efficiently in a new spot, rather than the same old, hey, did you go to Buffalo Point or whatever, and yeah, we didn't see anything there. Oh man, that sucks. They were there a lot last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it goes into that highs and lows, that roller coaster ride of elk hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the case in point, though, we pulled stakes, drove halfway across Colorado. It was almost a move that was not the smartest move, as far as when we had okay, we're here. We were there on that trip, I think, like right at 2 weeks. So it wasn't a week-long trip where but we burnt a whole. We drove all night. Half of the next day, got into a spot, and when we pulled up, I specifically remember this. Like we're driving up the road, and I'm like, dude, there doesn't look like there'd been anyone in here. And then we start seeing camps and these horse trailers, and then we got to the trailhead, and there was like 12 horse trailers and I don't know how many other rigs at this injection point, and we're like, we're full pot committed now. Like I don't know of another place to go. Like right. Here we go. And it was one of those points of like, and I remember specifically Trent like, dude, we're better hunters. We can figure this. Like, let's go in and do this. There was definitely some doubts amongst the group of like how this goes into. Went in there and we killed 2 bulls in 4 days. Like, and never really saw anybody. But we started looking at that scenario. That was the one injection point that went to vast country. I mean, and it wasn't like one trail up a main drainage and everyone's kind of, I mean, there was from there, spider web. You could get on a horse and cruise 20, 25 miles and be totally different country. There wasn't a lot of backpackers in there, and we just kind of rolled that dice and effectively killed bulls and people that were riding past all that country. Like we were in 4 to 6 miles. I think the deepest we might have got is like 7 or 8, but maybe. We were not in the horse country scenario, and so it was a little underwhelming at the point of when we hit the trail and we started in, but overall it worked out pretty well.
Are you ready? Let's do this, Tyler. Right on. Did you hear that? That bugle. He's right on top of you a little bit. Not on purpose, I don't think so. We do actually have an elk out in front of us. It was hunters that it was an elk. There was a real one. We think it's a real one. We're kind of slow playing him. He's just kind of working through this real thick stuff. Just keep it on him, so we'll catch him here in a second. Ready, bud? You ready? Yep. Here we go. To the right. Don't do this to me, wind. What are you getting? Oh man, if we could be back raking right now, it'd be a done deal. It's alright, we'll get him. He stays right here. He'll commit here in a second. He's up there raking still. Play a little game of copycat. Come on, buddy. We just can't see him. There he is. There he is. See that raking right through there? Right over there, you'll see a bush rake. See it moving? Just ripping the crap out of it. Oh, they're so awesome. Nothing cooler. No, don't win. He's closer now. He's right there. 40 yards. See that tree moving? No. Back. Right there, this little gap right here. See that? Do you want to slip up there? I'll stay here. I just want to kill this thing. Be careful.
So different.
Do you want to go back there
Yeah.
and try to replay it? What we're doing is replaying the shot. He's gonna go back to where he shot from, and then replay where the bull was. I'm gonna try to get a track on this here. Come here, Tyler. Come here. Not good. Shoulder blade bull. Not good.
Huh?
The
Not
whole,
good?
I don't get it.
Oh, are you kidding me? What'd I hit?
I don't know.
What?
Shoulder bladed him or something.
Oh, you're kidding me. Freaking A.
saw those fletchings just burying it. So did I. Not good at all. Felt like a slam dunk shot, and what I thought was just a awesome shot. My arrow, watching the video back, you can see my arrow hits one lone freaking branch. You can see the scar on my wrap, and then see where the vein's been over and distressed, and it just kicked my arrow like this and drove it straight in the shoulder blade. Literally there was like 4 inches of blood on my arrow. So I'm really confident, and couldn't find any blood, that sucker just straight up shoulder boned him. So back to the drawing board on finding elk, but the good thing is I feel 100% confident that bull's, he's not lost. He's not going to go and die somewhere. He's going to walk around with a limp, and some hunter one of these days is going to shoot him, skinning him out and pulling quarters off. He's going to find a stinking Strickland broadhead in his shoulder. So yeah, back to the drawing board.
All right, so this final section, guys, we're calling it how to use thermals, cover country, and make the most use of limited time. So we've touched on a lot of this, honestly, already, but to bring this all together as we start talking about really using time in the field, plenty of places we could go. One of them, to start with a listener question, basically had to do with timing, and specifically for you guys, as you're bugling, how does that change? How do you account for thermals, right? So do you structure your day basically based on thermal patterns and calling locations, or is it not quite that intentional?
I think a lot of it depends on, we've had certain places, right? Like we've mentioned on a lot of our videos, these Colorado winds, remember, where it's just like, you were there, it would be going perfect, and then the wind would change so much, and a lot of that has to do with topography, I think. And like if you have a mountain range, right, and you're on the side of it obviously, and you're skirting it, or however you're hunting, it's going to have dips and valleys, and if it's not like a distinct ridge to where it's just like the thermals, as the sun comes up, pulls the thermals up or down, you might deal with some variance of wind. And but when we get up, honestly, in the morning, Cody mentioned this earlier, we've honestly killed, I don't know how many, but very, very few bulls, like right off the bat in the morning when it's quote unquote prime time. So we do a thing that you've probably heard on our videos a number of times called slow playing a lot of times, where we're going to try to get on them, and we're going to try to call them and do what we can in the morning. But a lot of times it's going to be that following them. And Spec, you mentioned this earlier, how he's going somewhere. He's not necessarily going away from us, which he is, but he's going somewhere. And if we can keep him vocal enough to get him in the right place, and so from that 11 o'clock till 3 o'clock, they're going to go bed down somewhere. And that's usually the lead cow that's taking them someplace and using the thermals all the way. So we're going to be chasing them, and that's where we come into the category of kind of the slow play. And that has to do everything with thermals, usually. They get in there, usually those thermals are going to change somewhere around from that 9 to 11 o'clock, depending on what the sun's doing and how high it's getting and how hot it is and all these different tiny little variables. But so we're going to get close to that bedroom, and if we can lock that bull down to where he's not moving anymore, to where he's just stagnant, and you can tell the herd is probably starting to bed down certain ones, then that's when we honestly stop. And we'll be like, okay, what's the best situation? What's the best outcome that can happen here? What's the wind doing here? Or then maybe we'll hike 150 yards and say, okay, what's the wind doing over here? Take some readings and figure out, okay, what's the best scenario of getting in to his bedroom and calling him out of the herd. Because when he knows his cows are bedded down, when he knows his harem, if you will, you're welcome, it's safe. He's going to actually be freed up a little bit of time in order to go check something else out. If his cows and stuff are on the move, there's a lot of times he will just stay right with them, especially a Rocky Mountain bull. Roosevelt's, we've had better luck calling them back and actually calling them away from the herd in the mid-morning or mid-evening. But usually Rocky Mountains, they're so vocal that they have no problem spouting off and saying, I'm over here and we're over here, and I know you're over here. And so there could be satellites or whatever as well. And so it seems like in the Rocky community, it's like they want to know where each other is without actually approaching each other all the time. They just kind of, I'm here, okay, I know you're over there, and they'll keep doing their thing and keep spouting off, but it's that whole bedded down thing when the thermals are actually changing, when they're stable. When they're their most stable is going to be if the sun comes up middle of the day, thermals are headed up, and then you plan your assault, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like your question on the intentful side of it, like not necessarily planning our day around what the wind's going to be doing. It's, I would say, terrain's going to dictate what the day looks like, and then it's being efficient with your boots and bugle based on where what that is. So you try to cover as much ground possible with the least amount of physical effort per se, so you're not burning excess energy or time to cover that country. So it's nice to hunt in the morning, or you hunt your way up as the wind's coming down, but it's not like I'd be totally lying on you. I would prefer to camp up higher so you can hear, even though if you hear one down below you, like they're not going to wind you from 500 yards. So you can make a move based on what after that is. So I really like camping just off a ridgetop, not on the ridgetop, so you're not like in the wind all night long or anything like that, but where you can hear. So I think you're set, as far as efficiently as like setting yourself up for success in the morning. Like instead of being down in the creek bottom, it's going to be colder, it's going to be louder, you can't hear throughout the night. Okay, let's bump up to this bench that's mid-ridge or 3/4 of the way up that ridge. We can hear all this country, or it kind of benches out on that finger. Let's go off to that point. We're out of the wind, but you can hear vast country. So set yourself for success in the morning. As the day goes on, like I said, I'm not afraid to hike with the wind at our back. It's not like the end of the deal, as long as you can get your bugle out in front of that, and you can make adjustments. So it's not like, oh man, our plan was to go here, well the wind's right at our back, well let's go somewhere else where it's not, either physically it's going to take a lot of effort, and you're kind of going against, you've already hunted that ground, or whatever else. Like don't be scared just because the wind's at your back, like this is a bad deal.
So you feel like your bugle can carry further than your wind, essentially?
100%,
and then your
exactly. Yeah.
Yes and no, or your wind's going to be so broke up by the time it gets to it, may not bust them out, and you can actually hear them before.
Yeah, you said 500 yards. What, like, is there a distance you feel like is? How is this gonna put on?
150 yards, like they'll wind you.
Okay.
I mean, and it all depends. Like, is it open country? Chances are too, the wind might be right at your back here, but then there's a creek drainage right here, and the elk are on the other side. Like, that wind's not making it over to that other face like that. Exactly. It's going to hit that and drop down. So like what the wind's doing here, right here, doesn't necessarily always matter. It's not like that's the infinite wind vector that it's going to, unless you're in like high winds scenario and the wind's blowing out or whatever. But yeah, so set yourself up for success just as far as hear either eyesight or sound. If you're in open country, like, you're going to start the morning up high, glass where you can glass, if that's what the game plan. You use your bugle to locate from there, and then make plans accordingly. And then by the end of the day, like later in the afternoon, like, hey, we haven't turned anything up. Okay, by dark, where do we want to be? And kind of pull out Onyx, look at the map. Okay, and if we get tucked up in here, we should be out of the wind. We can hear pretty good. We haven't been in that side of the basin. We haven't been over that side of the ridge. Maybe it's the last hour, and we've definitely done this, like last hour before dark. Let's climb, get up on that ridge. We can hear off the backside. We haven't hunted that today, and so setting yourself up, I think, is for one, the efficiency, boot steps, minimize those, elevation gain, like play. And sometimes you just have to like go to the destination, and you're going to do those things and climb the elevation you need to, but try to be efficient in those movements.
Go kill an elk. Trent was that close yesterday to killing a freaking giant. That's not what we were expecting to come in.
We're gonna shoot one today. There's one. There he is. There he is. I want to go after it. Oh my God. Oh yeah. Just say something. We've had like 5 breaks since we left camp. And we've only gone 200 yards. And there's bulls bugling everywhere. There's gotta be 50 bulls down there. They'll screw it all up. That's right down here. If he stays right there, it'd be awesome if we could have where the old growler goes. That's what I was wondering. The wind's going this way, so I'd hate to get over. I know. Just got a couple bulls. Just. Yeah, let's just go. Keep pushing up. Just right there. Behind that big tree up there. That opening up there. There he goes. He just slipped in up above us. It's like 45 yards when he came through, just too much brush. It was pretty thick. Yeah. There was a lot of these. The woods are alive. I got a draw. Yeah, you did.
I don't know. What do you want to do?
2 shooters, make a plan.
Let's just split up and
See what we can find.
Meet back at camp at dark. We need to check in. If we're on a roll like this, the radios aren't going to work that great.
9 o'clock. Check in at 11.
We need to have a game plan of who's doing what because we don't want to be effing each other. I don't think it's going to hurt. Everybody's got
There's a
something.
bunch of freaking out that way, and there's a bunch of freaking out that way. There's some in there. There's some over there.
Which elk do you guys want?
I'll go either way.
I know you do.
I don't care.
You choose.
That way at a certain one.
I think Cody will drop. You guys go that way.
Okay. All right. We're gonna do. Okay. There's one right down there too.
See? That's ours.
So we're going like this.
We got a bull just bugle down here. You're gonna get tired of listening, of hearing that exact statement right there.
Oh, we snuck in on one bull. He shut up. Call the cow in. Like I was saying, there's bulls down there. There's bulls in front of us. I thought we just heard one coming in. It's complete mayhem. It does not get any better than this. Trent and I dropped all the way to the bottom, got some water, cracked a bull off on the other side, so we're climbing the mountain.
bull out in front of us. We're standing here and the bull just bugle behind us like 150, 200 yards max. We're gonna get up to this opening, call it in and kill it. Air's a little thinner at 10,000 feet. No, it looked like his fifth point was shot him 25 yards, tight behind the shoulder. Yeah, he was quartered on. He was, yeah, I just right on that shoulder crease. Dude, that was in the top bulls I've ever seen that big. He's tall. Like when I first saw him, I'm like, when he come right through that gap, I went, oh my God, I just like, that's a 400-inch bull. He's right there, I think. He's probably came out back here, I'm guessing. He's only like 40 yards. He went up there. I think he took a death run. I heard him cough like 3 times. Yeah. Oh, thank you for being here, Trent. Oh my gosh. Hang on. He's dead, isn't he? Oh my. Oh my gosh, hang on. Oh my. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Holy shit. Oh, look at the size of that, Cody. Give me his head. Oh my gosh. Dude. Oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like this.
Dude, look at that time. I'm speechless, dude. I don't even know. Oh yeah, that dog will hunt. Late season blacktail right here.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you fine. Oh yeah, he's laying right here. He is a giant bull.
Yeah, he's a 6x6 with like 22-inch sword tines, like a 20-inch second point, giant thirds, 55-inch main beam. I don't know. I'm still in shock right now.
Bringing the cape out with you, or are you gonna do the European out again?
Oh, this one's going to Timberline.
Congratulations, buddy.
Well, we're gonna get some pictures and get this thing taken care of, so why don't you put another one down? It's going number 2.
Winter Hill, congratulations again, and we'll talk to you guys after a while.
My wife's gonna be pretty excited because we got elk for the freezer, and a taxidermy bill. She might not be so stoked about that. You know, I mean, it sounds bad, but like Trent and I were talking, we were just like, gosh, this is... Honestly, I think the whole day, 15 minutes, we've heard a bugle every 15 minutes at least. Sometimes it was non-stop. I mean, this morning was crazy, but we just couldn't ever get it close, and the wind was bad, and it kept blowing stuff up, and we called in a spike and it winded us, and we jumped a cow down here, and you're just like, gosh, this is never gonna happen. And then come up here and bugle one time, and bull torches off and gallivants his way on in. I came to Colorado to go on an experience of a backcountry adventure, and words can't describe it. It's just unbelievable.
No worries over nickels and dimes, or a 9-to-5 grind. I gotta get loose sometimes. In trouble